Welcome. It's great to see you here. This is the fourth, I believe, mid-semester briefing I've conducted. The first one was in March of 2016, and we're doing this just as a way to share some information. I get to lecture you for a while, basically is what that means. We have President's Open Forums and other vehicles for questions to me and other kinds of dialogue, but mostly I'm here to brag about good things that are going on and share some information. That's my goal today. The audio for this is being recorded. You've been warned, but it's being recorded so that others who can't be here can listen to it. It'll be posted on the website hopefully later today. I want to focus, well, if you remember a couple of things, this is all you have to remember and you can then pass the exam. IUP is in a strong position this year. We're in a great place. I said some of that at my opening remarks at the beginning of the academic year, and it's still true and maybe more so today. So that's number one. We're in a great place, and that's thanks to a lot of great work by great people. Number two is that key to our success is continuing to operate in what we've been calling the IUP way, which means that we come together to identify, address issues, challenges, opportunities in a collaborative way, and that makes all the difference in the world, whether it's a good day or a bad day, that we have that as part of our normal operating procedure, that we work together, and it actually makes a huge difference in what we're able to do. So that's the end of the important points. I'll talk to you later. Well, I have a lot of detail, and we'll see how much I can actually touch in specific today. I think it's appropriate today for me to highlight our student athletes just for a minute. It's a good time to do that. It's been a great fall for intercollegiate athletics here at IUP. So let me just highlight first that the Department of Athletics recently completed a strategic plan that's aligned with the university strategic plan and highlights their goals for moving forward in terms of being competitive on the field, in the pool, on the track, on the court, but also being competitive academically and being strongly engaged in community service as they grow generations of leaders going forward. That's a nice document. It's not too long. It has a beautiful picture of me in it. Well, maybe not, but you may want to just take a look at it. It's available in print, and I think it's online as well. I do then want to get into some specifics. Of course, the football team, for those of you who've been asleep, won the PSAC championship on November 11th. And because they're ranked number one in the super region, they have a first-round bye in the NCAA playoffs. And we will actually host either Shippensburg or Westchester here at IUP on November 25th. So after you recover from Turkey, come on out and see a great football game. And then whatever happens after that will happen after that. Certainly they've been ranked number one in one of the national polls, and it's the first time since 1996 that we've been ranked number one in a national poll. So that's really nice to see. If I move to a couple of the other sports, IUP is one of 5 schools in the country that has both men's and women's preseason national Division II top 25 poll rankings for basketball, so that's good signs moving ahead. And so if we want to keep on records, we're the only Division II school in the country that has football ranked in the top 25 and both basketball in the top 25 at this time in the season. So that's great. And we do want to talk about a little thing that happened on November 12th, in which our women's basketball team soundly defeated Pitt's women's basketball team, that Pitt. But yeah, that's also good. And it's actually, I think, the battle of McConnell versus McConnell, as our coach McConnell and his sister were the two coaches in this contest. And it was fun. It was fun. We're going to enjoy that for a while. Women's volleyball did earn top seed in the PSAC tournament. Unfortunately, they lost last night in the quarterfinals for the PSAC championship, but they still are in line to earn a spot in the NCAA tournament that will follow. So cross your fingers on that. So that's also good. 2 of our student athletes were honored with the PSAC Champion Scholar Award for having the top grade point average among student athletes competing in the PSAC championships. Allison Dreyer, a member of the women's cross-country team, has a perfect 4.0 GPA and is a student in the natural sciences programs. And Sean Bowling, a member of the football team, has a 3.81 GPA as a chemistry major. Pretty impressive, pretty impressive. And just to finish up with athletics here, on Tuesday we announced that, oh no, I need to mention golf before I go on, or Fred will come for me. Men's golf won its 28th PSAC championship in October, and Joshua Bartley won the overall individual title. I shouldn't forget golf, so that's good. And on Tuesday, yesterday, we announced that we have removed acting from head football coach Paul Tortorella's title. He's done a great job, not just on the field with that 11-0 thing, undefeated, all of that, but also in setting expectations for academic excellence and service for the team, really fitting in with the Division II and the IUP philosophy for athletics. So all of that's good stuff. Moving perhaps to a somewhat more challenging topic, but again, I have a lot of good things to talk about here. Let's talk a little bit about diversity and inclusion. You know that we're not immune to some of the challenges and pressures that are going on across the country at this point. And so we have to continue to work in this area. You're aware that in September we had a racist photo on social media that caused some real concerns. And as I said at the time, and I say again and still think about, I'm so proud of the manner in which our students stepped forward to address that issue and to make this a better place. Students who could have been hurt, who could have been angry, who could have lashed out, instead moved ahead constructively, reached out to staff, reached out to the student who posted the photo. They held an open resolution seminar a few days after that offensive post went out. These are students driving this forward, making this happen. A little help from some staff, Theo and some others, but really it was the students who were making this happen in great ways. Several hundred people attended that, including student leaders from across the university from all racial, ethnic backgrounds, most of the members of the President's Commission on Diversity and Inclusion. And the dialogue at that seminar was passionate, but it was also constructive and respectful, following the ground rules that were set by the student leaders and are stated in IUP's civility statement. And if you don't know what that says, go find it and look for it. It's an aspirational goal for all of us in terms of how we behave and interact. Meetings have continued, leadership discussions, students in all sorts of ways. And I think it's fair to say that a number of our students have expressed their wish for several things. I'll just mention a couple of those. Let's keep talking about racism and how we overcome that and move to a better place. Let's make sure we have involvement of more white members of the community in this work. And so it's not just the students of color talking to each other about the challenges, but let's all get involved in this discussion and work. And they also want to see some form of training and education on diversity and inclusion, more visible, more present, some would say mandatory, for students and for faculty and staff. And so those are, I think, three things that we continue to look forward for. And I want to transition now to talk a little bit about the President's Commission on Diversity and Inclusion. But remember that these are students coming forward in a hurtful time to lead us all forward in a great way. And there's nothing better, I think, that we could identify about who we are and who our students are. It's a wonderful thing. The President's Commission on Diversity and Inclusion has developed the proposed diversity action plan, which none of you have seen, except if you're on the commission or you're me. They have a draft that's ready to go out for broader sharing with the community. The core group that worked on this is about 60 people, the commission and a number of subcommittees, and they had input from hundreds of other people. They've been working on this plan since 2017. Really, some of the roots of this plan start with the campus climate study that was completed a couple of years ago. And one of the first recommendations that came from the authors of that climate study was to establish a task force to lead to this development of a diversity action plan. And so all of these pieces tie together in a great way. And the President's Commission was created in October of 2016. So they've been hard at work. The current idea is that the plan, which is proposed, it's still a draft, it has opportunity for additional input, is going to be shared with the IUP community for comments either at the very end of this month or beginning of December, and that opportunity for comments will run into the new semester, into the new year, with the hope that we'll bring a final version to the Council of Trustees at their March meeting. So there'll be other opportunities for you to review this and engage. The Commission also wants to talk to, make presentations, work with groups on campus to make sure they have a chance to come together. And I know they're developing a draft list, but if you have a group that you think should be engaged in this discussion, I encourage you to reach out to them. And let's see, Dean Asamoah, as one of the co-chairs, is here, and Associate Vice President Linder is the other co-chair, is over here, and they've been doing great work with the Commission. So please feel free to be in contact with them and find ways to move forward and get your read the plan, think about the plan as it comes out, and then get your comments and thoughts in, and we'll appreciate that. I do want to highlight just a couple of things, sneak peek at what you'll see shortly. There were two, I think, really key recommendations that are highlighted that we need to move forward with now first, while we work on some of the other things. The first of those is that we need to develop better mechanisms, or a mechanism, for reporting and responding to incidents. So we're a little more proactive about that and not just being responsive, we're ready to go. And also for resolving in a collegial fashion the kinds of disputes that might arise in those sorts of circumstances. So that's kind of number one, I think, from the Commission. Most critical that we get this thing in place, these things in place as we move forward with other things. And hopefully that resonates a bit with you as some useful steps to move things ahead. And they also encourage, the report encourages the establishment of additional leadership to the university on matters of diversity and inclusion by finding a way to restructure and centralize or virtually centralize maybe existing units and personnel, and maybe adding some additional human and financial resources so that we have this kind of centralized, very visible presence that brings together all the segments, all the components of this discussion. So that's just a couple. There are several more recommendations that you'll get to see in the next couple of weeks or so and have a chance to read and comment on, and I encourage you to do so. So make sure you look at it, and we'll hopefully be having this in place by finalized, if you will, by the March 18th meeting. I say finalized, not because this is another plan to put on the shelf, but because we need to mark some time, mark some steps here and move forward. It will be a living and breathing document as we've been doing with our university strategic plan and other plans. So look for that. I do want to mention, moving from that, a lot of other things are going on, and I don't have time to mention all of them in this area of diversity and inclusion. But let me highlight just a few of those for you, and you may have heard of some of them you may not. The anthropology department, just to pick an example, has created a departmental statement on race and diversity, and that they're going to include that in all of their syllabi and feature it on their website and use it to help guide their curriculum development. So that's a really cool thing. And they formed a new departmental committee on race and diversity. So some nice stuff going on there at the departmental level. All of us can be engaged in this work in various ways, and it's a good thing. After the tragedy that occurred in Charlottesville and all the questions it raised about free speech and inclusion and respect, the Office of Social Equity coordinated a seminar, Racism in the United States, the Aftermath of Charlottesville, a cross-curricular discussion. We had around 150 faculty, staff, and students in attendance there. It's a great group. A lot of organizations were involved in making it happen, in addition to the Social Equity Office. We have Diversity Student Council, Diversity Peer Educators, Future Social Studies Educators Association, the IUP History Club, the IUP NAACP, Phi Alpha Theta, Residence Hall Association, United Against Islamophobia, and I'm sure there's some others that I'm leaving out that were engaged in making this happen. So it was a really great group effort. Provost Moreland set things off, set the stage with his remarks. There were 7 panel discussions led by faculty that ranged from First Amendment to standing up for diversity in your family to the biological fiction of race. And we had, again, faculty from IUP leading all those discussions and providing information. So it was really a great discussion. And then it ended with a panel discussion with representatives from the Diversity Student Council, the Diversity Peer Educators, and IUP chapter of the NAACP. So a lot of great things happened at that one event. The Muslim Student Association organized the first Muslim Cultural Day that was held on November 9th with the theme of Bridging Cultures, featured a number of Muslim and non-Muslim speakers and a lot of Q&A. And on December 1st, looking forward just a little bit, the Multicultural Affairs and Student Success and the Center for Multicultural Student Leadership and Engagement will sponsor a December celebration, a Kwanzaa-themed pre-commencement event. And again, that's on December 1st. You can look for opportunities there to come together and celebrate our diverse student population. And if you can attend in your schedule, that'd be great. So look for more details in the next couple of weeks for that. We've also hosted the Pennsylvania State System Women's Commission, and that was very successful, attended by 12 university representatives, 12 universities, about 105 faculty, staff, student, and community presenters. And we also had a pop-up art show with IUP student artists in the IUP Museum during that. So great event to have there. On a maybe more pragmatic step, we've passed and approved and implemented a preferred first name policy with the online application process is now finalized and out there for use for those that would like to use a different name, have a different preferred name, and that's a big step forward for people feeling comfortable and welcomed here at IUP. The President's Commission on LGBTQIA is offering ally training to the entire campus community. I believe the first one was in an October 6 o'clock series that I was able to attend. Interesting. If you could find the time, look for those opportunities and be engaged. The Latino Student Services Work Group is working on a report to improve campus support for Latino students, on and on and on. There's more and more. Let's see. Mention just a couple of other things. The Center for Multicultural Student Leadership and Engagement construction is on schedule in Elkin Hall. It's about a $2.7 million renovation of space there to bring together all sorts of student organizations and to encourage that key space for intermix, sharing, coming together in a safe way across all sorts of different cultural and other boundaries that might be there, and to help break those down. The tentative ribbon cutting is January 26th. Watch for that and see. Theo Turner and Leslie Coates, director and assistant director, are leads there in that project in terms of moving forward, although I don't think you guys are swinging hammers. No, okay, good. In June of 2018, we will be hosting the Pedagogy of the Theater of the Oppressed conference here at IUP, and I encourage you to look to that as well going forward as a different way of learning about and interacting with others. And certainly we have a lot of grassroots efforts going on all over the place. Just mentioned that the Racial Justice Coalition for Change, the RJCC, continues their stand against racism in the Oak Grove on the first day of each month, and you're certainly encouraged to be a part of that. Lots of things going on. I do want to mention, as part of our overall work in diversity and inclusion, a key part of our campus community is our international student population and the way that we engage people from across the world and engage ourselves with the world. We have something just over 800 international students from 56 countries enrolled this fall. That's about 7% of our overall student population here at IUP. That usually surprises people when I tell them that's an important part of who we are, and it's a great thing. International Education Week is always a winner. My entire office staff disappears whenever lunch is being served at these events, I think. And thank you for that, Dr. Petrucci. But something that we've done the last several years is we've had a naturalization ceremony as part of that week where people become U.S. citizens. And that's a wonderful event, and I've been privileged to take part in that. This year, actually, one of our own faculty, Dr. Shengdong Bi, was a speaker and became a citizen with us here at IUP. It was wonderful. We've also had India Day that's well attended in the last few weeks, on and on and on. Let's see. I might want to mention that we're working hard to make sure students have the opportunity to grow and learn how to live and work in the global world that, I guess global world is kind of redundant. Global society, global culture that we're living in now. IUP has been selected as a host institution for a cohort of students through the Proyecta 100,000 program. And so participating students receive a full scholarship from the Mexican government to attend IUP from October through November for an immersive cultural learning experience. And right now we have 9 students at IUP as part of that experience. So that's just an example of the kind of things that are going on. I could spend 2 hours talking just about all the international connections we have, so I need to move on. Sorry, Michelle. I do want to highlight something that's very important and touches both on our compliance, but also on how we're a welcoming and accepting community for all. And that is, you may have seen an announcement that Elise Glenn has been named Interim Title IX Coordinator and Compliance Officer starting November 4. She's overlapping for a period of time with Dr. Sandra Dennison, who's also been working as an interim in that role and is about to transition out. She's shaking her head vigorously, yes. And so the key that I would say to you from that position, it is about compliance and following federal law, but it's also about doing the right thing and adhering to the highest standards of treating each other correctly and responding if that shouldn't happen. And so it's about education and it's about culture change, but it's also about responding and addressing concerns as they come up. Very pleased that Elise, who has been teaching as a temporary faculty for us for some time now, was willing to step into that role and take up the reins as Sandra was transitioning out. So make sure that you're aware of what's out there, keep an eye on that, and make use of it as needed. Also in that realm, we're in the middle still of our Green Dot program, Trained Bystander Intervention. It's a wonderful program. We have, I think, 15 certified trainers on campus now. We have 14 students who have completed leadership training, and 89 faculty, staff, and administrators trained, and 26 more coming. The Green Dot curriculum is about helping us all understand what we can do if we see something that's of concern relative to sexual violence, sexual harassment. How do we intervene appropriately? What are the tools? What does it look like? Making sure that we know what to do to help stop this and have people recognize that none of us accept or will tolerate that kind of behavior. So again, I encourage you to take an opportunity to engage yourself in that training as the schedule allows. Okay, let me transition a little bit. Am I talking fast enough, Michelle? Okay. I'm on page 7. Okay. There's a lot of good stuff going on. Let me talk about IUP as a good place and the position that we're in a little bit more in detail. Let's talk about enrollment. Our freshman class is solid this year, up 146 students from last year's number and a 6.3% increase over last fall. So that's a good sign. While we read a lot about declining enrollments and we have concern about that, we have a strong group of new freshmen who want to benefit from the IUP experience, and that's a good thing. And we're doing that with high-quality students. Just to give you a few numbers, the average high school GPA of this new class of freshmen is 3.24. 19 of them are valedictorians or salutatorians. 129 are in the top 10% of their high school graduating class. The average SAT score for those reporting is 1,011. Good numbers. 379 students in this fall 2017 incoming class are Sutton Scholars. And they have SAT score average of 1,100 and a 3.25 GPA high school average. What I'd have you note about that group of really exceptional students is they have a retention rate of 94.2%. Persistence beyond that freshman to sophomore is 89.7%. And the first Sutton Scholars class graduated in May 2017, so just graduated this past spring, a total of 184 students. 70.2% of them graduated in 4 years or less. I can't imagine doing it in less, but they did. And 84.4% of the group are prepared to graduate by December 2017 or by May. So really strong community citizens as well as highly successful academically. And certainly want to thank the Foundation for IUP and a number of significant donors for their help in making the Sutton Scholarship Program available. It's a great group of students. We've added new programs like at the undergraduate level, the public health and environmental engineering programs to help attract more good students. Those are moving forward in a good way. Dr. Schinberg has been selected as the director of the public health program, is doing good work there. We have a great environmental engineering advisory board consisting primarily of IUP graduates in fields ranging from geology to chemistry to safety sciences to biology and environmental science to help make that program be absolutely what's needed in the community and to connect our students with potential jobs, internships, and so on. We have hired 2 licensed professional engineers as faculty for the program. And we are actively recruiting students. And as it just started this fall, we have our first IUP major in the program, who is a transfer student from Greensburg, coming in from biology, who's interested in solving water and air pollution issues. Her name is Sarah Smallwood. We also have a new PhD in business to highlight a program that was approved this summer by the Board of Governors. And this is going to be offered at our IUP Pittsburgh East campus, formerly known as Monroeville. And it's the only part-time PhD business program in Pennsylvania with the first cohort to start fall of 2018. And we're already seeing really strong interest in the program. So lots of good things happening with programmatic development that's helping attract other new qualified students to IUP as well. We just went through the Veterans Day weekend, and so I want to highlight the work that we've been doing with veterans and military-affiliated students and how it's paying off. We have a total that we know of 913 military-affiliated students right now, significant fraction of our student population. That's an increase of 77% from fall of 2013. Our Military and Veterans Resource Center, which opened in 2014, works collaboratively across IUP program services and serves as a one-stop information and referral site to help students and their families who are veterans or military affiliated to transition to college life, achieve their academic goals, and take advantage of the veterans and other military benefits that are available to them. Center is directed by Dr. Corey Shea, and just one more number for you with that. The MVRC has had more than 5,600 visits by military affiliated individuals or veterans since it opened, so 5,600. One more population number I guess I'll give you is that almost 28% of the fall 2017 student population at IUP is international or non-white. So let's talk about diversity and inclusion. We are a diverse place. We can be more diverse, and we need to recognize that and act as if that's the case. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Somebody here wants me to talk about per-credit tuition and that model and how it's going forward. A total of 9,263 undergrad students are in that second group. We're in the second year here of undergrad students to participate in the per-credit tuition pilot program. They're taking an average of 14.67 credits, which is not significantly different from the credit load of full-time undergraduates in the past before the pilot was put in place. And in the part-time realm, those were full-time. Part-time realm, the average credit load is actually not significantly changed, a modest increase, but not significantly changed from before to after as well. So it doesn't seem to be having the feared effect on enrollment that some were concerned about. We're moving ahead with that in a good way. And it's enabled us to continue to provide quality education in our program mix, and also to, quite honestly, treat students a little more equitably in terms of the costs that they impose on the institution for the instruction. Our fall 2018 enrollment, it's early, so don't write these numbers down as facts that are final, but it's early. Things look very strong for fall of 2018 already. So we're holding steady with our undergraduate new and transfer student deposits. Transfer students are still a challenge, a lot of work going on there. That's true across the Commonwealth in a lot of places in the country as the number of new 18-year-olds out there has declined. Community college enrollments have gone down, just as we've seen here. So we're working on that. We're working more than ever to continue growth on our out-of-state student population with some focus on New Jersey, Virginia, and Maryland. And we're also working in specific areas with targeted programs to increase diversity on campus. On the graduate side, our new graduate student completed application numbers at this point in time are up 47% from where they were last year. Good work. And we're up 66% in newly admitted graduate students relative to last year. And I think we have some real room to grow graduate enrollment going forward, so those numbers are looking good, and thanks to everybody who's working on that. As I think you know, we have the official enrollment number for this fall is 12,316. That's down a bit from last year. So the reason it's down is we have more new freshmen, but we're down a bit in terms of those students from the record years still graduating. And as I said in my opening remarks, we have a lot of work to do on retention and persistence and encouraging students to continue their education here to finishing. And that's a key initiative that's on place right now, in process right now. The goal that I set at our opening remarks and ceremony was to improve our first to second year retention from 72% to 80% by 2022. And that's an attainable goal, but it's not simple. I think that I would point out for you that if you look across all of the colleges, some are already achieving 80%. I could list departments if you want, but I'll avoid doing that. Some areas have some other work to do. In terms of the number of students that we need to add as retained across all the colleges, that number ranges from 4 additional students in some colleges to 86. It's doable. Those are not incomprehensible numbers. And I'll just mention that if we retained 194 more students from freshman to sophomore year across the university, we'd hit that university retention rate of 80%. Again, 200 people, less than 200 people, making sure they can continue their education here from year 1 to year 2. It's work, but it's doable. And I thank everyone who's engaged in the discussion. I'll mention that Dr. Patty McCarthy, who is now the Vice President for Enrollment Management, not the interim anything, is continuing her excellent work by being a leader in our efforts to work on student success from admission to graduation, working collaboratively across the university. In recognition of the fact that we're all responsible for student success. Every one of us has a role to play. Dr. McCarthy is created the TOUR group in the ongoing acronym battle at Cabinet. This is a pretty straightforward one. Task Force on Undergraduate Retention and Persistence. You left the P out, kind of, but anyway. So this is a work that aligns with our strategic plan, and the success planning work has representatives from all of the divisions, students. It's doing exhaustive research on best practices for student success, and we'll do a kind of granular assessment of what's going on right now at IUP. We have a lot of good work going on, but it's isolated here, there, or somewhere, and so bringing that all together and identifying best practices for the university is a key charge to that group. It's co-chaired right now by Paula Stossel and Dr. Dan Burkett. It's on a fast time scale to bring recommendations to Cabinet by mid-January, so we can start to align some actions around that. So good work going on there. Lots of very specific focus work that many of you are engaged in. I just want to mention, to get students here, IUP Days is a great initiative for admitted students, getting them to campus. It's a beautiful place, and you're beautiful people. Well, you're wonderful people, and it really allows students who are interested in us, who have expressed interest in IUP, to see what it's really like to be here. And about 75% of the students who attend the IUP Day experience matriculate. They attend, they become students. And so it's a very, very effective technique. We're offering some new scholarships, $2,000 one time at each of those 7 IUP days this year to help increase participation and get some excitement going. And the day includes seminars, student life fair, networking with current students, and really engages them, as I say, in what it's like to be at IUP, and they're very excited by that. So that's one of the great things that's going on. You've heard some discussion perhaps about establishing the University College, and the provost is leading that effort. There's a lot of planning going on, a lot of work with shared governance as the ideas come into focus. What it looks like right now is this is a place that will serve as a home for those students who come in without a declared major initially. If they have a declared major, they're generally nurtured by their college, the college of that major, and for those students who come in academically underprepared. And for fall 2017, we had about 625 undeclared majors and 278 underprepared students. So that's more than 900 students who fit under that banner of folks that need a home while they're determining what they want their degree to be, while they're adding to their skill base so they can be successful. The unit as conceptualized right now would include academic advising, some learning support, some support for exploring different majors and careers, and also some additional orientation and onboarding experiences for students and their families. It's really going to bring together work of existing offices and programs for the synergy and focus that will bring. Hopefully, we're going to end up with that located in the lower level of Stabley Library. There's a plan. The provost is checking his sofa cushion for budget to make that happen. Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Wooten is checking his sofa cushion for budget to make that happen. And so it'll be in that central location in campus in a good way. I want to mention just a couple of facts for you that the provost has talked about lately. There are a lot of myths about student success, and particularly about students choosing majors. So you were told, well, I was told, I've told my children, what do you want to be? Figure that out, get on path, and get in that major and get it done and get through and get out and get a damn job. Well, that's my children. Sorry, you don't say that. The reality is that some 80% of students nationally will change majors while they're in college. And the average number of majors for a graduate by the time they finish is 2.2. So choose whatever you want on day one. Well, actually, it's a little counterintuitive, but there's a lot of data that shows that allowing a little bit of time for exploration and major changing of majors shortens the time it takes for students to graduate. Now, you don't want to choose your major when you're a senior, right? That's too much time. But allowing a semester or so for that exploration actually improves the time to graduation. The average, if you declare in the third semester, is about 3.9 years to graduation, again looking at some national data, and that's versus 4.4 years to graduation overall for students. So it's actually a little better to spend a little time looking around with the right kind of advice and support so you don't, I hesitate to say this, but waste some of your credits early on. IUP is continuing its membership in SARA. You all know what that is, right? Okay. State authorization reciprocity agreements, which allows students to go to any of the 50 states for a field experience or to take online courses from other locations, IUP courses where they're at. And I do want to thank Dr. Tim Mack and his staff in the Office for Extended Studies, because they've really pushed this forward, have been diligent, and I would say bulldog in terms of getting this done and making sure it's there and those options are available. It's a complex set of legalities and regulation that have to be navigated, and we're in a good place right now. We are looking ahead to establish some specific goals for graduate enrollment specifically. I mentioned that I think we have some capacity there and some students would benefit from our service, so that's moving forward. And we'll do some additional marketing and work with departments and deans to make those things happen. I do want to mention, I said earlier, IUP Pittsburgh East, formerly known as Monroeville. We've renamed that campus to highlight for a key market in Allegheny County of where we are and what's available there. And that's a key site for a number of graduate programs and has some potential to grow. Let me mention one more thing about some good work in terms of students and enrollment. You may have seen the announcement. We have become a Pittsburgh Promise Preferred College Partner. That's a new program that the Pittsburgh Promise has started this year that provides us with and 18 other colleges in Pennsylvania with this Preferred College Partner status, which allows us to be one of the preferred sites for graduates of the Pittsburgh Promise program, Pittsburgh high schools, to come to us with the financial support provided by the Pittsburgh Promise. So that's a great program. We've already been successful with a number of students from Pittsburgh Promise. This just allows us to be more engaged with them earlier and make sure they make a good transition to us. And probably we'll see more of them come here as a result. We're providing a little bit of additional financial support for on-campus living for them and some other things. And we've had a total of 331 Promise scholars since 2008. Their graduation rates are around 66%. So that's a pretty good number actually for us in terms of the 6-year number. And it also really connects us in some ways with that key area where we have a lot of alumni, and that's Pittsburgh and the surrounding environment. So that's a major step for us as our partnership in that key program. Again, I could do a whole thing about all the things that you're doing, that we're doing to ensure students are here and that they succeed when they're here. More will come, but I need to move on to the next page quickly and get some more stuff in front of you. Let me give you a couple things about our regional campuses and what we're doing there. We're continuing in the transition at IUP Punxsutawney to serve as a regional resource. Students that maybe would have been admitted to Punxsutawney as opposed to Indiana as new freshmen are at Indiana this fall and are part of our population here because we were really concerned about giving them all the opportunity to be successful. And we weren't seeing that with the numbers from their start in Punxsutawney. So we're working on that now. We'll talk more about that later as we get some information and data. And we're working to refocus the Punxsutawney campus to serve as a regional resource now. We've added a clinical medical assistant 18-month certificate program with the first cohort beginning this spring. That's a program that we recognize there's a lot of demand for people with that credential, and there are a lot of folks in Punxsutawney and that region that could benefit from that as a step in getting a job or advancing in their careers in a number of ways. And we'll see more things like that coming forward. We're going to work on offering associate's degrees in general studies with track emphases either in culinary arts or business or office support. So again, some things that will help people make transition, get the skills they need to work effectively in the region. And we're also going to work on some undergraduate majors that will allow some face-to-face major courses, maybe some of them through distance education, things like management and marketing and comm media. And we're also going to do more for local high school students, regional high school students with dual enrollment program, more expansion of that. And of course, we're going to continue to emphasize the great culinary arts program that's already there, which has some great potential to grow further, we think. At North Point, I just want to mention one thing. Effective this fall, the campus is now hosting the upper division of the respiratory therapy program. Moved there this year. I think we do the first 2 years here at Indiana. That's what we've been doing. But now where students formerly went to a hospital to do the second 2 years, will actually do it with IUP, and we think there are a lot of benefits in terms of their success. We're keeping some of the great coursework and faculty, so we move faculty over into North Point to make that happen, and we're just looking forward to that. I think we've got, I think about 100 students who are majoring in the program, which has been around at IUP, I think, for 40 years or so. So it's just a good tweak in that to use the facility at North Point and provide some better opportunities for students. Again, lots of good things. I could go on about that. But now my notes say I should talk to you about the budget. Everybody go, woo, okay. Actually, this is the most optimistic budget set of statements that I have made since I've been at IUP, I think. It's pretty straightforward. Easy for me to say standing here. Because of all the work that you and your colleagues have done to maintain strong discipline related to spending and to rethink how we do business, we're in a very, very strong position financially, even though the world is falling down around us. Well, maybe it's not quite that bad, but we're in a strong position, and it's thanks to the great work that's gone on here. As we finished the 2016-17 fiscal year, we were looking at something like $3.4 million in shortfall. That was the last dribs of the reset of our expenditure budgets to the 2014-15 level. Okay, got that? $3.4 million shortfall looking forward as we were completing that reset exercise. Our initial budget projections for this year included that, and so we were showing an over $6 million total shortfall this year, which made a number of people nervous. But there's good news. Of that $3.4 million, Cabinet had already identified $2.9 million of savings and reductions in expenses as part of that reset, leaving only about $500,000 that had to be addressed to complete that reset process. So I just cut that big number by $3 million by saying that. And again, that's all good work that's gone under the Vice President's leadership, but in all areas and divisions and thinking about how to do things differently. We have about $510,000 of that we still need to address out of that $3.4 million. We deferred doing that intentionally because if we had implemented those reductions, they would have required us to do layoffs or retrenchment or furloughs or something, and we didn't want to do that. We're trying to do this by valuing our key and most important resource, our people. So since that time, Cabinet's figured out a way to navigate that. I think we're going to finalize that at a budget discussion meeting tomorrow, Dr. Wooten, and without having to have employees leave us as part of a budget reduction. So that's a good thing. If we had had all that stuff in place, then again, we would have been much closer to a balanced budget in our initial projections for this year. However, our enrollment is 12,316 for this fall, and our projection used for the budget was 12,500. So a couple hundred short of what we projected when we were doing the budget. So that's an additional shortfall of about $2.9 million. Okay. But remember, the rest of the stuff's dealt with, so it's just $2.9 million. That's a small number relative to what you've been hearing in the last few years, okay? And it's a revenue problem, not an expense problem. If we'd had those 200 students show up that we were counting on, hoping for, projecting, we wouldn't be having any discussion except the party, okay? The budget would be balanced, essentially. So that's something we can deal with. Let's add more new programs. Let's improve retention. Let's keep students here till they graduate. We can get there. 200 students made the difference. Remember what we need to do to increase 72% retention to 80% retention, 194 students? That would have been enough, okay? So this is, again, doable looking forward. We have to balance the budget this year. We have a plan, thanks to some great advice from the University Budget Advisory Committee. So Dr. Wooten was able to stand in front of the trustees a couple of weeks ago and say the budget's balanced for this year. It's November. The budget is balanced for this year. I don't think I've been able to say that since I've been here because we've always been finding things. And so this is good news. We are using a small amount of one-time central resources, maybe about $1 million, as part of that balancing, because we know we can work together to grow the revenue next year, and we'll deal with that. The rest of that is going to come from some elimination of open positions that are held centrally, and it's a benefit of, quite honestly, the hiring freeze that we're able to do that without having that direct input on unit budgets right now. So it's a good thing. We'd all like to have a lot of money and more money than we need, but the fact that the budget is balanced and we have a plan going forward and it's about growing the revenue side is a very positive place to be. So I haven't opened the champagne yet, but we're getting close to that. This is a good place to be, and we have some ideas moving forward. We're making investments in areas where we need to make investments. On Monday, I think Cabinet approved moving forward with recruiting 12 tenure track faculty positions for next year. We've been allowing some exceptions to the hiring freeze in those areas that are necessary to move us forward as an institution, and we'll continue to do that. So that's good news in investing in our future. I guess I should say that we have our performance funding number, and it's $4.45 million. We were budgeting $4.5 million, so we're off by $50,000. But we're also the second highest in the system. So that's good news as well. We're doing well in challenging times. So I'm really pleased with where we are financially. And while I'd like to take credit for that, it really is a lot of hard work all over the institution. So thank you for that. Oh, we have a little time. I do want to talk a little bit about where we are in university advancement right now, and that's working with fundraising, development, our alumni. Bill Speidel, as I think you know, retired on September 1st. It was a great member of the team, moved us forward in many, many ways. I've told a lot of people I think we have the strongest team in university advancement that we've ever had. Certainly since I've been here, it's a great team now and doing good things. We were very fortunate to have Katmeo Saren Hannah, who's here, wave. If you haven't met her, you will, because she's all over the place, is here as our interim vice president for university advancement through June. Search committee for the permanent replacement had their first meeting on Monday, and they'll move forward. Monday? Monday? Okay. Someday. Monday. And so we're continuing our forward progress on a campaign. I'm going to let you in the top secret area of the private phase of the campaign, just give you an idea where we're at. We have a goal for the fundraising campaign of $40 million. When Katmai arrived, we had about $18 million booked, either as pledges or cash. As of now, we have somewhere around $22 million, but I haven't talked to her in a couple of days, so it may have gone up since I saw the last number. That was a lot of good work by the team closing gifts. Some of those had been cultivated by Bill before he left, and Katmai was able to get the signatures on the page for some of those. And moving ahead, we're targeting getting to $26 million booked before we go public and make a lot of noise about the campaign. That's a reasonable benchmark. And we see how we're going to get there later this year. Katmai's hard at work at that. She has a plan and is looking beyond that to get to the full total as we move ahead into the future. Big success. That's going to be a significant accomplishment for IUP, which hasn't had a major comprehensive campaign come to completion in a very long time. We've had some focus campaigns. Again, people are looking at this institution and seeing us as worthy of investment. And that's what this is about. This is not about selling something or anything. It's about people investing in the future, paying forward, paying back what they received here, making sure others can have a great IUP experience. And they're excited about where we are and where we're going. It's a very strong statement in who we are and who you are. We have a number of college and athletic advancement councils who met this fall, a number of alum and supporters there. Big base of volunteers that provide us with guidance, connections to others, and financial resources. On the alumni side, we had a great homecoming celebration that welcomed more than 900 alumni in that pregame Crimson Huddle. And a lot of you were there for many reunions with whatever affinity groups you had, colleges or departments or programs otherwise. We've honored, well, I guess I'll say here that we had a quiet, successful homecoming in the sense that a lot of people were in Indiana and spent a lot of money and had a great time, and we didn't have the sort of out-of-control things that we get concerned about often at those times of celebration. And I do want to thank IACT, our Indiana Area Collaborative Team, and Robin Gorman's leadership for bringing us all together to work on those challenging issues. We've honored 6 Young Alumni Achievement Award winners, and they were able to come and interact with students, and will continue to do so and sort of make those connections across generations. Not as visible to some of you, but very, very important is the unveiling of the results of a major alumni attitudinal study. The Alumni Association Board of Directors saw that recently. The deans have seen this, and others on campus have seen it at this point. If you want to see it, they'll give you a presentation. It really talks about how we better engage with our alumni base of, let's just say, 130,000 living alumni, and engage them further, meet their needs, have them stay connected with IUP. Just out is an annual donor report that goes out to all donors and lists those who are in our leadership society. I do want to mention a couple of special events here, and then I think I need to keep moving on. We did a special event in support of women's athletics that commemorated the late Ruth Podbielski, and we did another one that celebrated the memory of Robert Ensley and Charles Davis. Those were really, really nice events that celebrate, connect people back to their experiences at IUP, and were really successful. We also assisted with the Foundation for IUP's celebration of its 50th anniversary a few weeks ago, a key partner in everything we do in terms of outreach, fundraising, and good stewardship of the donations that people make to the institution. I encourage you to look forward to the fall edition of IUP Magazine, which will be out any second now. Elaine, any? No? Anybody want to guess? Soon. Look for it. Look for it. I think there's a feature article about alumni Chris Stewart, who was a trainer for some hockey team, Pittsburgh Penguins, who will win again someday. And also, we're making a new engagement from advancement with the Retired Faculty and Administrators Association. We did some great work with them. They're very, very interested in the future of IUP, and I think that we'll see more visible presence from them and engagement going forward. So it's really good stuff. Now it's time to talk about construction. I always have to talk about construction. This summer was remarkable. It's the most aggressive summer construction schedule I've seen in 30 years in higher education, all right here disrupting your ability to get about on campus. But it's done. It was done on reasonable time with minimal disruption as planned, more or less. And so that's a major testament to a lot of people doing great work, great planning, great work. While you can't see them, you're happy for them right about now. Thousands of feet of new steam tunnels are in place in 3 locations across campus, or even I would be wearing a winter jacket right now. George P. Miller Stadium improvements are significant and were completed. New track, new field, new visitor bleachers, a restroom that you can go into on the visitor side. Lots of good things happened there. Lots of paving. Leonard Hall is in the process of being demolished and should be completed. You think this month still, Cornelius? You think this month? No, we don't think so. Next month? What do you think? January, yeah. They need the break, I think, to get it down. That's a challenging project given where it's sited on campus, and there had to be some asbestos abatement and things like that to make it happen. So it'll get there. And that sort of clears the way for some construction project that Dean Snavely cares about. Science building, something? She has a timeline. She has a Gantt chart. And we made some progress on the Grant Street Park project, and that's going to continue as we get through the academic year, so that'll become an even more welcoming space. I do want to talk a little bit about the Arboretum, which we don't always feature and talk about. One nice addition there is students in Sean Derry's public art class answered an RFP and had a winning proposal to put art in the Arboretum. And this was a project funded by an IUP alumnus, Ray Kinter. And the project that won and is installed now is named Legacy Marker. It's in front of Sproul's Hall in a planter, and in the area with a planter with a ginkgo tree. So go out and look at it if you haven't. It's very impressive work by our students. And this is a project that will continue into the future with other examples. Let's see, I have something else in here about the Arboretum. I think I'm going to cheat about order and mention it now. There we go. Just this morning, that's why it's in a different place here, IUP received word that the Arboretum and IUP have received a $220,000 grant to further the development of the Allegheny Arboretum Confluence Park. Let's see, that's down by the KCAC hotel space down in there. $220,000 grant. And it will continue to work to transform that area. It's about 25 or 30 acres. This came from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania's Department of Community and Economic Development. And actually, looking at the total numbers, this proposal received the most funding of any proposal in this round of funding from them. And it's a joint effort with the university, the Research Institute, and the Arboretum Board. And so it will be a university project, and we'll provide some match, about 15% in addition to that, to move this project ahead. Again, it's going to improve that key entryway to campus and make that area more accessible and enjoyable for all of us. Great work by the Arboretum Board. There's just an incredible group of people that doesn't demand a lot of credit. They're just doing great work to ensure the future success of the Arboretum. So it's really good stuff, really good stuff. I think we should also thank, in addition to Dr. Wooten's staff and the Arboretum and the board and the Research Institute staff, probably we should thank our local legislative delegation, who may have had a role in helping keep this in the list. And I think Robin Gorman also helped out in keeping it in front of them in a good way. We have a new safety installation on campus with a weather station on South Campus that provides lightning warning and lightning detection and warning. Also is available at Miller Stadium. And this system actually allows us to get some better advanced warning of inbound severe weather events, not just lightning. And it also connects to the National Weather Service and units and stations around the world. So we get a lot better results. We improve the results for everyone else. My original notes had something in here that would warn us about snowstorms, but who cares about that? We don't need to know. It'll be fine. But seriously, it does allow us to have some better warning about some of those events that can cause danger or damage to property or to people. Moving ahead. I want to go back and mention a couple of programmatic achievements here. I'll be very, very quick through this, and some accolades. I mentioned, I think in the past, a teamwork grant that we received from the National Science Foundation, $663,000, one of the largest grants in IUP history on the research side. Justin Fair and Ann Condor are the faculty PIs, but it's a very interdisciplinary project. It's about preparing STEM, science, technology, engineering, math graduates to work in the real world as members of teams. But it's grown far beyond just STEM students. We have a minor that was created this fall, effective teamwork and communication. We have 61 students are enrolled in that minor already. Lots of good work going on there. People learning to do things beyond just their major and to work together with other people, a radical concept perhaps, but an important one. We also have some good work going on in terms of minors related to leadership that were approved at the November Senate meeting, and I think the trustees will see those in December probably, Tim, right, for that final approval. Professional leadership and community and civic leadership, and those join the existing military leadership minor. So students can navigate through that and get some of those other skills that we want all of our graduates to have and get some credential for that. I think I want to highlight one more thing here and just mention that we had our second annual Community College Career Fair on November 10th. With the keynote speaker was Dr. Nick Newpower, who's the president of Butler County Community College, and we had a panelist with five IUP graduates as panelists. This is really to help graduate students think about careers teaching and doing administrative work at two-year colleges. And if you think about the PhD programs and master's programs we have a lot of students where that's a potential career option, and we're meeting a need and connecting them in good ways. Recent university accolades. I told you we're cool and we're great. What more do you need to know? No. We've received a number of rankings that I'll mention that I think are impressive in many, many ways. We were ranked as one of the top universities in the country in the Wall Street Journal Times Higher Education College 2017 ranking, which is based on 4 categories: resources, engagement, outcomes, and environment. We're ranked in the top 20% of all institutions for engagement, which measures how students are engaged and comes from student recommendations, interactions, and breadth of opportunities. We were also highly ranked in the environment category, which measured international students, student diversity, faculty diversity, and student inclusion. So that's really nice to hear. We also have a number of other things. Let me just call those out quickly. We were recognized by U.S. News and World Report's Best National Universities, which highlighted inclusion. We were selected as one of America's top colleges by Forbes magazine. We were included in the Best Colleges for Your Money 2017-18 by Money magazine. We've been included in the Princeton Review's Best Colleges Guidebook for more than a decade. We've been ranked as a socially responsible school by Washington Monthly, and we've been ranked highly by other places, many other ones, but let's just mention Military Times has ranked us as a best for vets university, so that's all good. Let me mention a few student accomplishments, because that's probably why we're all here. We had 3 students receive Commonwealth of Pennsylvania University biologist grants, a couple of graduate students and an undergrad. I'm going to go very quickly and not mention all the names, but there are announcements out there. We had an Outstanding Student Award won at the 31st Annual Robert D. Lynch Student Leadership Development Institute. And the award is presented for students who demonstrate outstanding leadership skills. This actually is a student who's a senior psychology major and works in multicultural affairs and student success, and is the vice president of the Latino Student Organization. We've had a couple of biology students, in addition, recognized for their research and scholarship in the field of vector biology at the Pennsylvania Vector Control Association annual conference in November. And we have some wonderful students in the College of Business and Information Technology, and I want to mention their names: Dylan Hagee and Anthony, how do I pronounce that name? Juhas? Am I close? Juhas, thank you. They won the first Business of Humanities Award sponsored by the University of Pittsburgh. And that's a $5,000 cash award for them. There were 24 teams in the competition. And I mention them because I want to come back to some work that Dylan's doing. The students' company, which was already up and running before the competition, is American Patriotic Apparel. So it provides clothing that has reminders of the sacrifices our military veterans have made. Let's see, I talked about that already, talked about that. Let me mention a couple things that are impacting, IUP is impacting our communities in various locations. I talked about IACT a little bit and how they work together, how we work together around those problematic events and trying to limit those. But they've also started a really proactive program this summer called the Welcome Mat that brought about 1,200 family members of incoming IUP students to downtown Indiana for tours, presentations, to meet community representatives. And these were held in June as a partnership with Downtown Indiana, the Indiana County Tourist Bureau, and the Indiana County Chamber of Commerce with the university. And the goal here is really to say, this is your community too. And we welcome you here, and it was remarkably well received by the parents, the families. We'll see them probably more often back here with their students to be engaged as members of this great community. We know it's a great place. We're sharing that with those who are becoming our students, who will be a member of the community for the next 4 years. We hosted a second annual IUP Veterans Resource Fair November 13th, a couple days ago. That was free and open to the community, had some good press coverage, had good attendance, and we finished that day with a 6 o'clock series program where we had our Distinguished Alumni Award recipient, C.J. Janes, a retired Navy Rear Admiral, speak to students and others in the audience about her experiences at IUP, how they impacted her career as a leader in the Navy, and she talked a little bit about being a woman in the service too and how that's changed over time. It's really, really impressive. She had a lot of other meetings on campus. I know she met with our ROTC students and a number of others, and wonderful person, wonderful person. Our Fall Into the Streets program in October had about 200 students out there volunteering at 7 agencies in the community to make a difference. And I'll just mention Greek Life Giving Back. They did a big cleanup after homecoming. 500 plus students involved in that. And yesterday we had the annual Salvation Army Red Kettle Breakfast. And again, this year we had Greek Life students there to present the funds that they had raised from their canning efforts recently to support this important activity in our community. They presented a check for $3,140.15 yesterday morning. It was wonderfully received. And they've been doing this for about 12 years now, and during that time have raised almost $35,000 for this program that impacts our community. That's very significant. If we continue to expand talking about our impact on the world, we have an interdisciplinary team grant for cybersecurity education, an important area to the nation, to everyone. $212,000 from the NSA, and that's enhancing education in cybersecurity in Western Pennsylvania. Great work going on there, partnership across a number of departments in the university. And ultimately, this will have resources for education of students at multiple levels, and we'll provide that out into the world, and we'll also provide a chance for some great career opportunities, I think, for our students and our graduates as they go forward. It's good stuff. Well, let me highlight for you, if you haven't had this opportunity already, Brian Swat, who is, of course, president of IUP's Student Government Association. Wave, Brian. This is a surprise shout-out. But he's also a member of the State System Board of Governors, serving as one of the 3 student members there, and has already established himself as a leader in that group in his thoughtful way of doing business. So he's serving us well, and he's serving the Commonwealth well, and he's been recognized for that already. Greater things to come, Brian. No pressure. Let me mention a couple international things as well, and then we're getting close to the end here, I promise. We've received for the 3rd year a grant for the International Leaders in Education program, which comes from the Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs of the Department of State. And our co-PIs are Dr. Lutkahans and Dr. Petrucci. And it's a very prestigious program offered to leading U.S. universities. And what we do is we host 16 fellows January through May, is that right? Do I have it? At Indiana High School and Brashear High School, is that where we're still at? In Pittsburgh. And then they spend time here as well. And so they're learning in a cross-cultural sense. These are from China. No, where? Everywhere. Malaysia, everywhere, right? It was a fun music group, as I recall last time. Yeah. So they're here from around the world learning about education in the U.S. and making connections that are transformative as they go back. We've had 3 faculty members in the Communication Disorders, Special Education, and Disability Services Department get a grant to write curriculum for teachers in Suriname, again, having an impact in some other areas in the world. And let's see. I believe we have a few folks who are off providing expertise right now at the annual Health, Safety, Security, and Environmental Conference and Exhibition sponsored by the American Chamber of Commerce of Trinidad and Tobago. Is that where they are now? When it's 30 degrees out here, am I correct? Okay. But it's a high value. So that includes a couple folks from IT, Bill Balint among them, as well as some other great folks who are part of the IUP family. So good stuff. Just to update you on a couple more things, and then I'll wrap up. We're moving ahead with some great help from Patty McCarthy in building the framework and establishing the new division of marketing and communications that I mentioned at my opening remarks. We're not there yet. A lot of design work to do, but we're already starting to see some changes in operations within the communications folks in enrollment management in terms of how they're structuring their work, and we're seeing a lot more strategic focus coming forward as we engage in more shameless bragging with a purpose, I guess I should add on there, and with expected outcomes. So that's moving ahead. You'll hear more specifics about that as we get this done to a next step, and we'll start recruiting for that chief marketing officer to head that division. Probably after the first of the year, Patty, you think we'll be ready then to move that ahead in good fashion. So I'm pleased with where we are and moving that ahead. I was going to finish by spending an hour talking about how employees across the institution, give you a lot of examples and tell some stories about how they've stepped forward to give an extra effort to move IUP ahead to serve our students, to help us meet our mission. And that was a failure in attempting to build that list, not because things aren't happening, because things are happening and people are doing that. But when you ask them about it, they say, that's just my job. Leave me alone. I've got work to do. Seriously, and so that's part of the IUP way. People are doing great things every day. They're not doing it because they want a star or they want credit in some ways. They're doing it because they know it's the right thing and they're dedicated to our students and to our mission. And it's a wonderful thing to see and hear and experience, but they don't want to talk about it. They want to just do their jobs, and they're doing them exceptionally well. And so I go back to statements we've made before and came from, I think, our accreditation self-study. Our best and most important asset are our people. They do great things, and the future of this institution depends on them and their great work. And I'm so pleased and proud to be with them and to be part of this team in so many ways. Just great stuff, extra mile. So let me talk about a couple of students, because I couldn't get any traction with this in place. They really said, it's our job, leave me alone, I have work to do, right? And it's good stuff. Let me talk about Dylan and Anthony again just for a minute. They won that state competition for entrepreneurship at Pitt. Dylan is also the recipient of the Foundation for IUP 2017 Community Volunteer Service Award, and was also recognized with the award for his work with the Military Philanthropic Organization, MPO, an organization he founded. Dylan is a U.S. Army veteran from Allentown, and the MPO's mission is to offer hands-on work to help veterans and families. The group has 22 members right now, men and women, some in ROTC, some not. In September, the group did repairs to a home of a family of a deployed soldier. The family is here in Indiana. You may have seen some of the media coverage of that. They are also working on a program organized by the Veterans Leadership Program of Western Pennsylvania called Operation Christmas Stocking, offering personal care items to homeless veterans in our communities. And IUP's campus security officer, Kristen Squires, is coordinating the program for several IUP organizations. So Dylan is a remarkable leader. If you haven't had a chance to meet him, find him, talk to him. You'll be inspired, and he may put you to work, and that's okay. Michelle Langle, who's a double major in international studies and political science and history, and a cancer survivor, organized the Mini-thon on November 4 to raise funds for Four Diamonds, a charity for childhood cancer patients and their families. In the last 2 years this has been going on, the event has raised almost $6,500. The IUP football team, back to them again, but this is in a different way, and speaks to their leadership and quality, granted the wish of a 3-year-old Shane Iverson during the September 23rd game against Edinburgh. Players signed a team football that was presented to Shane and posed for photos with him. It was part of the annual Make-A-Wish Day the team holds, honoring one child with a life-threatening condition. Shane, who was accidentally shot in the head by a stray bullet from a hunter when he was just days old, passed away on November 1. And you've probably saw that news. Sad, sad occurrence, but a little bright spot for him. And seeing him engaged in that, it made a big difference in those days for him. There are many more examples, and I could go on. I did want to have a visual aid today to kind of close things out. Well, let me get it out. I have to be careful with this. I'm allowed to touch it, but it has to come back in one piece. This piece was given to winners of the 2017 Governor's Awards for the Arts, and that ceremony was held on October 26 in Lancaster. Students in IUP's Wood Center collaboratively designed and crafted the award objects under the supervision of Fall 2017 Wingate Artist-in-Residence John Hallett and Center Director and Assistant Professor of Woodworking B.A. Harrington. This is the first time in the history of the awards program that students have both developed and created the design for the awards. The project is part of the advanced woodworking class taught by Hallett, which includes 10 students at the undergrad and grad level. Student John Miller, who retired from IUP's IT department after 37 years of work here and is taking the class because of his personal interest in woodworking, is the artist behind the design. So incredible. And he describes it as his interpretation of the Liberty Bell in walnut, the darker wood there, and the Pennsylvania keystone, the lighter wood. In his own words, artistic expression is the keystone of liberty. Without liberty, there can be no artistic expression, and without artistic expression, there is no liberty. The interdependence of these ideals is expressed when the Pennsylvania keystone is merged with Philadelphia's Liberty Bell. The forms are codependent, each supports the other. One does not exist without the other. The wood is Western Pennsylvania hardwood, locally sourced from a Smicksburg business, and the aluminum base, which you may not be able to see from where you're at, comes from a Blairsville manufacturing business. The students created the pieces in the Wood Center over a 2-week period, and BA transported. You were entrusted to transport these to the ceremony. That's good. You did good then. All right. As we talk about what makes IUP distinct and we think about the IUP way, I believe that this piece, its origin, its design, its creation, they really come together to showcase the IUP way in a beautiful fashion. IUP is a place where we come together to exchange ideas, listen to one another with respect, where we value our sense of community and interdependence, where we look outwards into the future, but we also remember and honor our past and our home community. Thank you all for your continuing work together in the IUP way. This is a great place to be. We're in great shape. We have a lot of good work to do moving forward. I look forward to celebrating our latest graduates on December 16 at commencement. I wish you a great Thanksgiving, which we're all longing for right about now. And I also wish you a smooth end to the semester and a joyful holiday season. Thank you very much for all your good work, and thanks for listening.